Well, folks, another match week in the books, and it was an interesting one for match week 25 of the Premier League. Noel, we had some very interesting results, some good, some bad, depending on your perspective. But we'll get into it shortly. How you doing there, Noel?
As I was just moaning to you off air, I'm freezing. I'm so fed up with the minus 25 conditions at the moment that we've been in the last 3 weeks. So I'm bored of it. I am bored of being cold. I'm bored of running everywhere from my car. Yeah. So I'd rather stay at home and watch soccer, but
Yeah.
but you have to go and do this thing called work to pay the bills. So yeah, fun, but it's
There's
all
only
good.
one other game I guess we're going to recap now. And it was the Sunday 11:30 game, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't even care right now what time it was. I don't even know where to begin. So Liverpool, Man City, we lost 2-1, and we everyone knows what happened. We, after again another horrendous start, similar to the way we started last weekend, where one team was more of the dominant team, we were able to have an excellent defensive performance in the first half. Like for all the control City had and all the attacking, I don't even know how many shots they had. I think at that point we had like one on target, but they had like a lot more. And we held the fort. Allison was playing some, making good saves. The defense was stepping up when they had to. Like from a defensive standpoint, I was very happy, and I have no complaints with what I was seeing from the squad. However, well, I can't even say however. We start to get more into the game come second half. We look more like, all right, the team that we're here to compete. And we opened the scoring in this game with a brilliant. I know I messaged you about that goal, and you eventually saw the replay, but that was a brilliant free kick from Szoboszlai, and he's had a few of them this year. So we have to give credit where credit's due. If they hadn't lost, that potentially would have been the goal of the weekend, and I mean, technically, probably still would be the goal of the weekend, but it
I
was
think
like
it is. It's fair to say that was an absolute screamer. I texted you today because I did spend some time today watching that, and I texted you earlier. I'm like, oh, that was a hit. The fact that Donnarumma doesn't even move tells you how good that shot
flat-footed,
was. And if you haven't seen it,
and
go watch it. Like even if you're not a Liverpool fan, it's an absolute banger, and you don't see those guys. I moan about this all the time. I miss the fact that we see people scoring free kicks. We used to get them week in and week out. Now we get them once in a blue moon. But it's an absolute hit, right? And it's an absolute unit. And then once you're 1-0 up, you don't often think that you guys will lose. I don't want to rain on your parade, but that was the first time in 109 games that you were leading and lost at home. So I think previously you won 98 from that position and drawn 11. So the first time you've lost.
The worst thing is that it like that goal was late in the second half. It was in the 74th minute. So with how great of defense they were playing, how they gave up the time goal, it just you saw the play happen. I watched it and I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, just before the cross to Silva, I'm like, they're gonna score because it's like for some reason Liverpool, this seems to be a weekly thing. They have a lead and everybody mentally shuts down at a certain point. And they think that, all right, we have, you know what, there's not enough time left. We've got this. And how many weeks have we seen them blow a game because of that? This is not the first time this has happened this season alone. Maybe the first time in however many games at Anfield. But we've
Yeah.
seen this where teams have either the late equalizer against us or got the equalizer and then got the game winner, right? Leeds, Fulham. Like I know there's been other games that aren't coming to the top of my head. So I shouldn't be surprised with the result. And nowhere like I was just like, oh, there's too much time left. And that's what scared me. Then they got, like I said, they got the equalizer. The Holland penalty, it's I wish I would like to say or argue that, oh, that was crappy call. A little soft, but it was a pen. Like a pen's like sometimes you have to be able to be honest and look at it and say, I can't complain. I really can't.
Yeah, I will say
And
it's a penalty. Like I watched it a couple of times today, just to kind of because I knew you were steaming when I talked to you on Saturday on Sunday because we recorded for Toronto FC, and then like I knew you didn't want to talk about it, so I was like, okay, there must be something controversial. And I watched it too, and I messaged you today, and I said I think all the decisions were the correct decisions, whether you like it or not. I think they were the right decisions. It is a little bit of a soft penalty. I've seen a lot of those ones not given too. But it is Man City, so they generally do tend to get those calls. I think as to your point on the late goals, you've conceded 12 goals in the last 10 minutes of games, and I think ultimately Liverpool's title has come off, or title defense has come off the rails because of those late goals. And I think, you mentioned the Bernardo Silva one, but even if you just look at it from a neutral standpoint, from my standpoint, when I was watching the game back, the amount of space, you can't give a guy like Bernardo Silva that much space. Somebody doesn't pick him up, and you get in the Premier League, you get punished if you do not pick up a runner. And I mentioned about Forest to you on Sunday. Their first goal is no one picks up a runner. Bernardo Silva doesn't get picked up in this game, and you pay the price for it. And I think that's ultimately where it is. Now, I'll let you get on to the last bit, because the last bit I thought as a neutral was just the most comical, funniest defensive attacking fouls I've seen in a long time. You can't make that stuff up. And when they were trying to explain it on the VAR, for those that haven't seen it, Szoboszlai pulls him down, Haaland then pulls him back, and then the ball goes in the net. So I'll let you explain, but it was pretty comical.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how to explain other than Sabazai gets a red card for that. So here's my question before I get it, I try to give any kind of response. Was that a red card in your eyes?
Yes, because it's a goal scoring opportunity. And I think if you look at it, like there's a couple of those where, you've kind of seen him in the Premier League when Haaland's going to tap in, he's going to score, right? And I think Szoboszlai knows, because the grin on his face when he was laughing as he was walking away, you kind of knew he knew he was going, right? Yeah, he was taking one for the team, trying to save that, right? But at the end of the day, I think it is a red card. And I do think the call is correct that Haaland then pulls back on him, and the ball ends up rolling into the net because they're too busy pulling each other to the ground. And they do get it right. I think ultimately the VAR does get them full play, because when I first saw it, I'm like, I thought it was only 2-1, because I thought they were just going to let that stand and give him the advantage. But then when you do see Haaland does pull Szoboszlai out the way to stop him from having to clear it, then it does make sense that he would have cleared it. It would have been 2-1 still, and he should have go, because he obviously pulled Haaland back to stop him from tapping into an empty net. So they do get the right call, which we are very critical of them. But they do get the right call. And I do think Szoboszlai's reaction when he peels away and he's laughing, because Haaland says something to him and they both laugh. I think it's a red. I think it's just. Now, I think the bit that I missed from the highlights is I assumed that Alisson had gone up for a corner, and that's why he's got an empty net to run into, right? I assume that's the bit that I'm missing.
Yeah, again, Allison was trying to be the savior, like he has done in the past. But yeah, that kind of exposed our net, and we're not a team that on the defensive side has a lot of pace, so you're going to put yourself in a situation like that. So I I'm not really here to argue the card. I just think, well, like, here's the question: should Holland have also gotten a card for his actions, a yellow card?
He should have got yellow. I felt he should have got yellow. I don't know if he did or not. I assume from you asking that question,
I
he did.
I you know
I
but
would I would
you know what he
assume it's
should
a
have?
yellow card. I would assume it's a yellow.
I like Yeah, like again, it's hard to. I'd have to go in to see if they showed the lineup. If he got one, let's see. Yeah, he did get a yellow card, so I believe they probably did card him for
Okay,
that.
well that makes.
And I'm not, even regardless of that situation, for me, I'm just more frustrated with what I've been seeing from this team all season long. And there's a lot of players that you have to ask questions about because, you know, especially when he makes these late subs and, everyone else has given that their all. We're up at this point. Those guys that come on as a sub, you should be working 110%, running back, doing all the dirty work to ensure you secure that win. Right? You have the players that has sat on the bench all game, have the fresh legs, should be applying all the defensive work, all the pressure to ensure we walk away with 3 points. That was a massive game that they lead that they blew. It was a massive 3 points with the fact that right now you're chasing two other teams for one of the potentially one or two, the last two Champions League spots, and both of those teams are playing good football right now. So you can't really afford to slip up. And you've heard me in question if Arne Slot's the right guy. You know what? At this point, we're gonna wait till the season, plays out to see how things actually, what direction the club goes. But I just have to question again his lineup, his motivation of his team going into some of these games. Like, what is he getting wrong? Right? You have Man City coming into Anfield. You should be on the front foot, not on the back heel for most of the first half. Right? We saw this 2 weeks ago. Who were they playing? Newcastle.
Yeah.
Right? Similar scenario where you're on paper. Well, we won't even say on paper, the quality or whatever it is, but how are you letting other teams come to your home and dictate everything? This is Anfield. It used to be one of the worst. Like, teams hated coming here. No one has that fear right now.
No, not at all.
Right? And they look at like, all right, we can either get 3 points or a draw against Liverpool. If they're not here mentally today, this is our chance. And every team knows that, right? And that has to go down to the coaching staff. Why are your team not prepared week in, week out, game in? Like, you'll see 1 week all of a sudden they look like world beaters, and then the next week they look like, they should be playing the championship.
It will be interesting to
So
see what they do at the end of the season. I think I was looking at this after I watched the highlights, and I was looking at what if they do move on from Arnie, because I don't know if he's got everyone's buying. There's just something that's not quite right. I thought about it last year. Obviously, I think I said to you multiple times, I think he's benefited from having just a very well set up Klopp team. And I feel like, there's just something I can't quite put my finger on it. As a neutral, I don't know what it is, but there's something about him that just doesn't resonate. And I was looking at the projections of like who would be the candidates for to replace him. Xabi Alonso's name's just come up after he's just got let go by Real Madrid. Oliver Glasner is the bookie's second favourites. Iriola is the third. Unai Emery is the fourth, and Nagelsmann is the fifth to replace him. They're the five top candidates right now. So probably none of those are your first choice by the look of your face. But like, it will be interesting to see which direction they go. And again, it also depends on what does Newcastle do, because I think Newcastle also might be in the region for a new manager too, because those rumors are starting to build well.
Here's the thing: say if you're a coach and both Newcastle and Liverpool are both have a vacancy, and you're given the opportunity, which team looks like the better of the two options?
I go to Liverpool,
right?
Because Newcastle seem to, yes, they have all the money in the world, but they can't seem to spend it. But if you look at the squad of Liverpool and you look what's available, and yes, you've got some injuries, you've got Isak coming back once his issues are done. Like, you look at Liverpool, they're a far better proposition, and really we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about it. The biggest issue is their defense. You just got to go and shore up that back line, and you've got the rest of the pieces are already there. It's just how you play with those pieces. I think your problem is, I said it to you from the very first match of the season. I think defensively, Liverpool look vulnerable. I think Van Dijk, I always felt he was a little overhyped over the last few years. I feel he's fallen off a cliff. And I feel you need to go and get 2 new centre backs that can, start bossing around and bullying attackers again. And I think that's what they really lack. So when you look at what's quicker to turn around and easier to turn around in terms of the jobs of Newcastle versus Liverpool, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't, so both of them have new coaches at the end of the year. I think Eddie Howe might be running out of steam and time at Newcastle. And I think at the end of the day, if I look at them, there's players at Newcastle like Guimaraes, there's Sandro Tonali's coming out saying that he wants a bit of a challenge. There's rumors, who the other guy was Arsenal were interested in. So I think Newcastle have got far more issues than Liverpool. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you are probably, if Arne Slot is relieved of his duties at the end of the season, those jobs for guys like Iriola, for Glasner, they're the jobs that they're going to want, right? It's, who would be the best fit for Liverpool with those some big games on obviously coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. And, I'm just Forest of Wolves. I need them to get 3 points at the City Ground. So that would be nice.
Yeah, and we're away to Sunderland, so that's not going to be an easy one. But hopefully they can get the 3 points. So that is it for us here with another episode of the 6 Yard Line podcast. I'm Sean. That's Mo. Thanks for joining us. Y'all have a good one. Take care.
Thanks, guys.